Standing still is moving backward. Right now, at this moment, you're making a choice that will echo through the rest of your life. Most people live their entire lives never understanding this simple truth. The quality of your mindset determines the quality of your existence. I've spent decades studying success, observing thousands of lives, and I can tell you with absolute certainty, the difference between extraordinary achievement and ordinary results comes down to one factor: refusing to settle. I remember meeting a young man in Chicago back in 1990. He worked at a small radio station, doing the same job he'd been doing for 15 years. Every day he'd arrive at exactly 8:00 a.m., sit at his desk and do exactly what was expected. Nothing more, nothing less. He was comfortable, secure, and completely stuck. One day I asked him, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? His eyes lit up as he described his dream of owning his own station, of creating programs that would inspire millions. Then, just as quickly, that light died. But that's not realistic, he said. That moment captures exactly what I want to share with you today. The tragedy isn't that this man didn't own a radio station. It's that he convinced himself it was impossible before he ever tried. He had settled for less than he was capable of achieving, and in doing so had denied the world his unique contribution. You see, this isn't just about personal success. It's about the ripple effect your choices have on the world around you. Every major breakthrough, every revolutionary idea, every life-changing invention started with someone who refused to accept the current limitations. They didn't just dream, they acted. They pushed past the voice of doubt that whispers, "That's good enough." They understood that settling for less than their potential wasn't just a personal choice. It was a decision that affected everyone their life could touch. The stakes are higher than most people realize. When you settle for less than your best, you're not just cheating yourself. You're cheating your family, your community, and the world of the contributions only you can make. Your unique combination of talents, experiences, and insights has never existed before and will never exist again. That's not just responsibility, that's opportunity. I've watched countless lives transform when people finally grasp this truth. It's like watching someone wake up from a long sleep. Suddenly, they see possibilities where they once saw obstacles. They find strength where they once felt weakness. Most importantly, they start taking action where they once made excuses. Today, I'm going to share with you the principles that separate those who achieve their dreams from those who only dream about achieving. These aren't complex theories or abstract concepts. They're practical, proven strategies that have transformed thousands of lives. But I warn, this information comes with a price. Once you understand these truths, you can never go back to accepting mediocrity. You'll never again be satisfied with settling for less than your best. Success isn't a finish line you cross once and celebrate forever. True achievement is a continuous process of growth, a constant reaching for higher standards. Most people misunderstand this fundamental truth. They think success is about reaching a certain income level, getting a particular job title, or acquiring specific possessions. But I've spent time with millionaires who were miserable and met people of modest means who achieved extraordinary fulfillment. The difference wasn't in their bank accounts. It was in their mindset. Let me tell you about something I observed back in 1991. I was giving a seminar in Seattle when a successful businessman approached me during the break. By all external measures, he had made it. He owned multiple businesses, lived in a beautiful home, and had all the trappings of success. But he shared something remarkable with me, Earl. He said, "I realize now I've been playing it safe for years. I stopped pushing myself once I got comfortable. I've been maintaining instead of growing." This successful businessman had fallen into the most common trap, the misconception that success is a destination rather than a journey. He had achieved his initial goals and then settled into maintaining what he had built. But true success isn't about maintenance. It's about continuous improvement, about constantly raising your standards. Many people believe settling is a form of contentment or gratitude, but say things like, "I should be happy with what I have," or "Who am I to want more?" This is one of the most dangerous misconceptions about success. Being grateful for what you have doesn't mean you should stop growing. A tree can have strong roots while still reaching for the sky. Another common misconception is that settling is safe. People convince themselves that maintaining their current level is less risky than pushing for more. But here's the truth. Settling is the riskiest choice you can make. In a world that's constantly changing, standing still means falling behind. The skills that made you successful yesterday won't necessarily keep you successful tomorrow. The price of mediocrity is far higher than most people realize. It's not just about missing out on material success. It's about the slow erosion of self-respect that comes from knowing you're capable of more, but choosing to do less. It's about the opportunities you'll never see because you stopped looking for them. It's about the lives you could have impacted but never did because you settled for less than your best. I've watched people pay this price year after year. They start their careers full of ambition and dreams, but somewhere along the way, they start accepting good enough. They stop learning new skills, stop taking on challenging projects, stop pushing their boundaries. The cost isn't immediate. It's gradual, like rust slowly corroding metal. The real tragedy of mediocrity is that it becomes a habit. When you settle in one area of your life, it becomes easier to settle in others. Soon you're settling everywhere. In your relationships, your health, your personal growth, you start accepting excuses you would have rejected earlier in your life. Your standards drop so gradually you barely notice it happening. Every time you settle for less than your best, you're training your mind to accept mediocrity. Every time you say, that's good enough, when you know you could do better, you're programming yourself to expect less from your life. This programming becomes your default setting, affecting every decision you make. The truth about success is that it's available to anyone willing to pay the price. But that price isn't what most people think. It's not about working longer hours or sacrificing everything for your goals. The real price of success is refusing to settle for less than what you're capable of achieving. It's about maintaining high standards even when no one is watching. It's about pushing yourself to grow even when you're already ahead of most people. True achievement comes from understanding that your potential isn't fixed. It's constantly expanding. Every time you push past your comfort zone, you create a new baseline for what's possible. Every time you refuse to settle, you open up new opportunities you couldn't have seen from your previous position. The nature of success is that it belongs to those who understand these principles and live by them consistently. It's not about occasional bursts of effort followed by long periods of coasting. It's about maintaining a standard of excellence in everything you do, about refusing to settle even in small matters. The gap between where you are and where you could be is created by the standards you accept for yourself. Every time you settle for less than your best, you're choosing to live beneath your potential. Every time you push past comfortable limits, you're expanding what's possible for your life. Everything you experience in your life started with a thought. Your mind is like a powerful broadcasting station, constantly sending signals that shape your reality. Most people never realize they have control over these signals. They let their thoughts run on autopilot, wondering why they keep getting the same results while their mental programming stays unchanged. I remember working with a talented sales professional in 1992. He kept hitting the same income ceiling year after year. His sales would reach a certain point, then mysteriously stop growing. When we analyzed his thinking patterns, we discovered something fascinating. Every time he approached his previous year's numbers, a little voice in his head would whisper, "This is probably as good as it gets." That thought became a self-fulfilling prophecy, creating an invisible barrier to his success. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what you vividly imagine. When you repeatedly think limiting thoughts, your mind accepts them as instructions. It's like programming a computer. Garbage in, garbage out. Most people fill their minds with thoughts of limitation, doubt, and fear, then wonder why they're not achieving their goals. Every morning when you wake up, your mind starts running programs, just like a computer. These programs are thought patterns you've developed over years. Some were installed by parents, teachers, or friends. Others came from your own experiences. But here's the crucial point. You can change these programs. You don't have to keep running outdated software in your mind. Breaking limiting patterns starts with awareness. You must become conscious of your automatic thoughts. When you catch yourself thinking, "I'm too old for this," or "I'm not smart enough," stop. These aren't facts. They're programs you can change. Start questioning these thoughts. Ask yourself, is this really true? Or is this just an old pattern I've accepted? I've seen countless people transform their lives by changing their mental programming. A woman I worked with had convinced herself she couldn't speak in public. Every time she thought about presenting, her mind would flood with images of failure. We started reprogramming her thoughts. Instead of visualizing failure, she began imagining successful presentations. Within 6 months, she was confidently speaking to audiences of hundreds. Creating new mental pathways requires consistent practice. Your current thought patterns are like well-worn paths. in a forest. They're the easiest routes for your mind to take. Creating new patterns is like forging new paths. At first, it requires conscious effort. You must deliberately direct your thoughts toward what you want rather than what you fear. It's a practical technique. Every time you catch a limiting thought, immediately replace it with its opposite. If you think, I can't afford this, replace it with, how can I create the resources for this? If you think this is too hard, replace it with, I'm learning and improving every day. This isn't positive thinking, it's practical mental reprogramming. Your subconscious mind is incredibly powerful, but it's literal. It doesn't judge whether your thoughts are helping or hurting you. It simply acts on them. When you think this always happens to me, your subconscious accepts this as an instruction and works to make it true. Start giving your mind better instructions. Mental programming works both ways. Just as negative thoughts create negative results, positive, purposeful thoughts create positive outcomes. But be clear, this isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about programming your mind to find solutions instead of focusing on problems. Consider this highly successful person started where you are. They faced the same doubts, the same fears, the same limiting patterns. The difference is they learned to reprogram their thinking. They replaced I can't with how can I. They transformed this is impossible into this is possible if I figure out how. One of the most powerful ways to create new mental pathways is questions. Your brain is designed to answer questions. When you ask yourself limiting questions like, why does this always happen to me? Your brain finds reasons. When you ask empowering questions like, how can I turn this situation to my advantage? Your brain starts generating solutions. Your mental programming affects everything. Your health, your relationships, your career, your finances. When you understand this, you realize that changing your thinking isn't just positive psychology. It's practical success strategy. Every achievement starts with the thought that it's possible. Visualization is a powerful tool for reprogramming your mind. Athletes use it to improve performance. Surgeons use it to enhance their skills. You can use it to program success patterns into your subconscious mind. See yourself achieving your goals. Feel the emotions of success. Make these mental movies as vivid as possible. But remember, mental programming isn't just about thinking different thoughts. It's about maintaining those new thought patterns until they become your default setting. This takes time and consistency. You wouldn't expect your body to get fit after one workout. Similarly, your mind needs consistent training to develop new patterns. Watch your self-talk. The things you say to yourself matter more than what anyone else says to you. Most people would never talk to others the way they talk to themselves. Start treating your mind with the same respect you'd give to someone you deeply care about. Your mind is constantly recording everything you say and do. When you make excuses, you program your brain to look for more excuses. When you take responsibility, you program your brain to look for solutions. Every thought, every word, every action is either strengthening or weakening your mental programming. Creating new mental pathways also means being willing to be uncomfortable. Your old patterns will resist change. This discomfort is normal. It's a sign that you're growing, that you're creating new neural pathways. Welcome this discomfort as evidence of progress. Your life moves in the direction of your strongest thoughts. Make sure those thoughts are taking you where you want to go. Program your mind for success, and success becomes not just possible, but inevitable. The quality of your life will never exceed the quality of your thinking. Choose your thoughts with the same care you'd use in choosing anything else that could dramatically impact your life. Knowledge without action is like a car without fuel. Impressive to look at, but it won't take you anywhere. I've met countless people who understand success principles perfectly, yet their lives never change. Why? Because they're waiting for the perfect moment to take action. Let me tell you something I've learned over decades of studying success. That perfect moment never comes. Every significant achievement in human history happened because someone decided to act despite their fears. In 1993, I met a factory worker who dreamed of starting his own business. He had attended every seminar, read every book, and knew exactly what he needed to do. But he kept waiting for the right time. 5 years later, I met him again. Still at the same factory, still waiting for that perfect moment. Moving beyond your comfort zone isn't comfortable. That's why it's called a comfort zone. But here's what most people don't understand. Discomfort is the currency of growth. Every time you feel that resistance, that urge to stay safe and comfortable, recognize it for what it really is, an opportunity to grow. The most dangerous phrase in any language is, I'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week, next month, next year. Before you know it, years have passed, and you're still standing in the same spot. The time to act is now, not when you feel ready. Because here's the truth. You'll never feel completely ready. Small daily choices compound into massive changes over time. This is one of the most powerful principles of success, yet most people overlook it because it seems too simple. They're looking for big, dramatic actions when real transformation happens through consistent, small decisions. Let me share something powerful. A 1-degree change in a plane's trajectory might seem insignificant at takeoff, but over a long journey, it can lead to a completely different destination. Your daily choices work the same way. Each small decision either moves you toward your goals or away from them. Every morning when you wake up, you face choices. Will you get up early to work on your goals or hit the snooze button? Will you make that uncomfortable phone call or put it off another day? Will you push yourself in your work or do just enough to get by? These seemingly small choices compound over time to create your life. Resistance shows up in many forms. Fear, procrastination, self-doubt, perfectionism. These are all natural responses to stepping outside your comfort zone. The key isn't to wait until these feelings disappear. They won't. The key is to act despite them. Successful people feel the same fears as everyone else. They just don't let those fears stop them. These are a technique I've taught thousands of people. The 5-second rule: when you feel the urge to take positive action, count backward from 5, then move. Don't think about it, don't analyze it, just count. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. This bypasses your brain's natural resistance to change and gets you moving before fear can take hold. Action creates clarity. Many people say they're waiting for clarity before taking action, but that's backward. Clarity comes from taking action, making mistakes, adjusting course, and moving forward. You'll learn more from 1 hour of action than from months of planning. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in a day and underestimate what they can achieve in a year. This leads to frustration and giving up too soon. Instead of trying to make massive changes all at once, focus on small, consistent actions you can sustain over time. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. When you choose to work out, even when you don't feel like it, you're voting for being healthy. When you choose to study instead of watching TV, you're voting for being successful. These votes compound over time to shape your identity. Resistance never goes away. It just changes form. As you grow and achieve more, you'll face new challenges, new fears, new reasons to hesitate. The successful person isn't the one who doesn't feel resistance. It's the one who acts despite it. Remember this, action always beats intention. The smallest action is better than the grandest intention. Stop planning to plan. Stop organizing to organize. Stop preparing to prepare. Just take the first step, however small it might seem. Your brain will present you with countless reasons why now isn't the right time to act. It will tell you to wait until you have more money, more time, more knowledge, more confidence. This is your brain trying to keep you safe, to maintain the status quo. But safety and growth can't coexist. The most powerful moment in any journey is the moment of decision. The moment when you say enough to mediocrity and take that first step toward your goals. It doesn't have to be a perfect step. It doesn't have to be a big step. It just has to be a step forward. Action breeds confidence, inaction breeds fear. The more you act, the more confident you become. The more confident you become, the easier it is to act. This creates an upward spiral of growth and achievement that can transform your life. Don't wait for motivation to strike. Action comes first, motivation follows. Start moving, start doing, and you'll find the motivation and energy you need. This is how successful people operate. They don't wait to feel motivated. They act their way into feeling motivated. The world responds to action, not intention. Your goals, dreams, and plans mean nothing without consistent action to back them up. Start today. Start now. Take one small step towards your goals, then another, then another. That's how lasting change happens. That's how dreams become reality. Success leaves clues, but so do setbacks. Every failure, every disappointment, every setback contains information that can fuel your growth, if you have the courage to examine it honestly. Most people run from failure, trying to forget it as quickly as possible. But those who achieve greatness understand that setbacks are stepping stones, not roadblocks. Let me tell you about a businessman I met in Phoenix in 1994. He had just lost everything in a failed venture. Instead of giving up, he spent 3 months analyzing exactly what went wrong. He studied his mistakes like a scientist studying an experiment. 2 years later, he built a business twice as successful as his first. Why? Because he understood the growth formula, setback learning. Change is the only constant in life, yet most people resist it with all their might. They cling to outdated methods, comfortable routines, and familiar patterns even when these no longer serve them. But here's what I've learned. The most successful people aren't those who avoid change. They are those who learn to adapt quickly and turn change into opportunity. Every major breakthrough in your life probably came after a period of intense challenge or change. That's not coincidence. Pressure creates diamonds and challenges create growth, but only if you have the right mindset to learn from them. Building resilience isn't about avoiding failure. It's about learning to bounce back stronger. It's about developing what I call the growth response to setbacks. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Ask, what can I learn from this? Instead of saying, this is terrible, say, this is teaching me something valuable. I know something fascinating over the years. The most resilient people aren't those who never fail. They're those who fail more often because they try more things. They understand that each failure makes them stronger, more knowledgeable, and better prepared for future challenges. Your capacity for growth is directly proportional to your capacity to handle discomfort. Growth happens at the edge of your comfort zone, in that space where you're stretched but not broken. Each time you push through discomfort, you expand your capacity for future challenge. Here's a powerful truth. Nothing in life right now is a waste unless you waste the lesson it contains. Every setback, every disappointment, every failure is either an opportunity for growth or an excuse for giving up. The choice is yours. The growth formula requires honest self-assessment. You must be willing to look at your failures without making excuses. What part did you play? What could you have done differently? What will you do differently next time? These questions might be uncomfortable, but they're essential for growth. Adapting to change requires mental flexibility. Think of your mind like a parachute. It only works when it's open. When faced with change, most people's first reaction is resistance. But what if you made your first reaction curiosity instead? What if you asked, what opportunity might this change contain? I've watched countless people transform their lives by mastering this formula. A woman I worked with lost her job after 20 years with the same company. Instead of viewing it as a disaster, she saw it as an opportunity to reinvent herself. She used her severance pay to learn new skills and started a consulting business. 2 years later, she was earning triple her old salary. Resilience isn't just about bouncing back. It's about bouncing forward. Each setback should leave you stronger, wiser, and better equipped for future challenges. If you're going through the same challenges repeatedly, you haven't learned the lesson they contain. The growth formula requires patience. Real change takes time. You won't transform overnight, but you can improve every day. Small improvements consistently made lead to massive changes over time. The key is to never stop growing, never stop learning, never stop pushing forward. Your greatest growth often comes from your greatest challenges. The things that test you the most are often preparing you for something bigger. But you must stay in the game long enough to see the lesson. Will you let it define you, or will you let it refine you? Will you use it as an excuse to stop, or as a reason to grow stronger? The choice you make in these moments shapes your future more than any other factor. The growth formula is simple, but it's not easy. It requires courage to face your failures, wisdom to learn from them, and persistence to keep moving forward. But for those willing to apply it consistently, it's the surest path to lasting success and achievement. Excellence isn't an act, it's a habit. The standards you accept in your daily life become the standards you live with permanently. Most people set their standards based on what's comfortable or what others expect from them. But true success comes from setting your standards based on your potential, not your comfort. I learned this lesson powerfully in 1995 when I visited a manufacturing plant in Detroit. The manager had posted signs everywhere saying good enough isn't. At first it seemed harsh, but then I watched how this standard transformed their work. Every employee, from the janitor to the executives, held themselves to a higher standard than required. Their products weren't just good, they were exceptional. Personal excellence starts with your daily choices. It's about doing your best work when no one is watching. It's about going the extra mile not because someone demands it, but because that's who you are. Excellence isn't about perfection. It's about constant improvement, about never settling for less than your best. Your standards become your brand. People might forget what you say, but they never forget how well you do your work. When you consistently deliver excellence, opportunities start finding you. Doors open that you didn't even know existed. But this only happens when excellence becomes your default setting, not just something you do occasionally. The people you spend most time with, are they pushing you to higher standards, or are they pulling you down to lower ones? This isn't about judgment. It's about growth. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Surround yourself with people who make you uncomfortable with settling for less than your best. When you raise your standards in one area of life, they tend to rise in all areas. When you start demanding excellence from yourself in your work, you naturally start demanding it in your health, your relationships, your personal growth. Excellence becomes a way of life. Leadership isn't about position. It's about example. When you hold yourself to higher standards, you automatically inspire others to do the same. I've seen entire organizations transform because one person refused to accept mediocrity. Excellence is contagious. Consider this every interaction as an opportunity to demonstrate excellence. How you answer the phone, how you write an email, how you respond to challenges. These seemingly small moments reveal your standards. People notice not just what you do, but how well you do it. Most people want to be around excellence, but few are willing to demand it from themselves first. They wait for someone else to raise the standards, to take the lead. But true leaders set the standard by their own behavior. They don't demand excellence from others until they demand it from themselves. Your environment shapes your standards. If you work in a cluttered space, you'll accept cluttered thinking. If you tolerate mediocrity in small things, you'll accept it in big things. Start creating an environment that reflects the standards you want to maintain. Excellence requires attention to detail, not because the details themselves are always crucial, but because attention to detail is a habit that shapes everything you do. When you care about the small things, the big things tend to take care of themselves. Here's a truth most people miss. Setting higher standards actually makes life easier, not harder. When you consistently do excellent work, you spend less time fixing mistakes, dealing with problems, or redoing tasks. Excellence is efficient. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. You accept mediocrity in one area, it seeps into other areas. If you demand excellence in one area, it elevates other areas. Your standards aren't just about work. They're about who you are as a person. Leading by example means being willing to do what you expect from others. It means being the first to arrive and the last to leave. It means doing the hard things first. It means maintaining your standards even when it's inconvenient or costly. Your standards aren't set by what you say. They're set by what you tolerate. Every time you accept less than your best, you're lowering your standards. Every time you push for excellence, you're raising them. The people around you will rise or fall to meet your standards. If you accept excuses, you'll hear plenty of them. If you expect excellence, people will strive to deliver it. Your standards don't just affect you. They influence everyone around you. Excellence isn't about comparing yourself to others. It's about comparing yourself to your potential. It's about asking, is this the best I can do? And being honest with the answer. When excellence becomes your standard, average becomes uncomfortable. Set standards that make you proud, not standards that make you comfortable. Choose to be excellent not because someone is watching, but because anything less would be out of character. That's when excellence stops being something you do and becomes who you are. You stand at a crossroads right now. Everything we've discussed today, the power mindset, refusing to settle, mental programming, taking action, learning from setbacks, and setting higher standards, all of it means nothing without your decision to act. The principles work, but only for those who work the principles. Think back to where we started. Remember that young man at the radio station, trapped not by his circumstances, but by his willingness to settle. Remember the businessman who turned failure into fortune by learning from his setbacks. Remember the factory where good enough isn't transforming an entire culture. These aren't just stories. They're mirrors reflecting your own potential. Every principle we've covered today has been tested and proven by thousands of successful people. The power of never settling isn't just positive thinking. It's a practical strategy for achievement. The way you program your mind, the actions you take, the standards you set. These determine your results with mathematical certainty. Let me be clear about something. Knowledge alone won't change your life. Understanding these principles is important, but acting on them is essential. The world doesn't reward people for what they know. It rewards them for what they do. Starting today, you must become a person of action. Your life has been preparing you for this moment. Every success, every failure, every lesson learned has brought you here. The question isn't whether you can achieve your goals. The question is whether you'll finally stop settling for less than you're capable of achieving. Here's your challenge. For the next 30 days, raise your standards in everything you do. No more good enough. No more I'll try. No more settling. Demand excellence from yourself, even in small things. Watch how this one change transforms your results. Start with your thoughts. Guard them carefully because they shape your reality. Replace limiting thoughts with empowering ones. When you catch yourself thinking, I can't, immediately ask, how can I? Make this your new mental habit. Take decisive action every day. Remember, small actions compound into massive results. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it. Don't wait for opportunities. Make them. Every morning, do something that moves you toward your goals before the world's demands take over. Learn from everything. Success and failure are both teachers if you're willing to learn. When setbacks come, and they will come, ask better questions. Don't ask why me, ask what's the lesson here. Ask how can I use this? Surround yourself with excellence. Find people who refuse to settle. Join organizations that demand high standards. Read books that challenge your thinking. Create an environment that pulls you toward your best self, rather than letting you settle for less. The world needs your highest contribution. When you settle for less than your best, you're not just cheating yourself. You're cheating everyone who could benefit from your full potential. Your talents, your insights, your unique capabilities. These are gifts meant to be developed and shared. Every great achievement started with a decision. Someone decided to stop settling. Someone decided to raise their standards. Someone decided that good enough wasn't good enough anymore. Today, right now, you can make that same decision. The choice is yours now. You can walk out of here and continue living as you have been, settling for less than you're capable of achieving. Or you can decide that today marks a turning point. Today is the day you stop settling. Today is the day you start demanding more from yourself than anyone else would ever expect. Don't let this be just another motivational moment that fades away. Turn it into a turning point. Let this be the day you later look back on and say, that's when everything changed. That's when I stopped settling and started living up to my potential. The time for settling is over. The time for excuses is past. The time for mediocrity has ended. Your future is waiting on the other side of this decision. Make it now. Choose excellence. Choose growth. Choose to never settle again. The world is waiting for your highest contribution. Give it nothing less. Your time is now.